What seems to be the problem, pal?
There's just so much pain in the world, so many issues. I don't think I can bear it.
Well, friendo, it sounds like you could use a dose of pop culture roulette.
Pop culture roulette? What's that? Some sort of pop culture themed podcast or something?
That's right, sonny boy. When hope seems far, dive into some PCR.
But I already get my entertainment news from Variety.
Huh, that's pretty good. If you're a chucklehead, PCR gives you news you need, condensed, unfiltered, and raw, from three nerds who know a little something about something.
Wow, okay, sign me up.
That's the spirit. Pop Culture Roulette. New episodes every Monday, available on all major podcast directories.
Welcome to Moving Panels One Shot. Let's have a nerdy little conversation, and let's have a nerdy little conversation face to face.
That's right.
For the first time ever. Well, first time for the podcast.
Yeah,
first time for the podcast. Chad and I are in the same room.
It's not like we just met. Like,
no.
Wow. Never seen you
first
before.
time. It's nice meeting you. So, yes, Chad and I are in the same room. We are actually recording this from Seattle, Washington.
Yeah, after a devastating Braves loss last night.
Yeah.
So, got to make the most out of the trip at this point. You know?
So we thought we would record, and what better discussion to have since this is my first ever trip on the West Coast to talk about the West Coast Avengers, or just the new Avengers, which is where we think the MCU is headed. And so we are going to talk about who we think might make up the new Avengers. D23 has just happened this weekend, and we got the Thunderbolts. So we're already getting these reveals of new teams. And so we are going to talk about the West Coast Avengers / the new Avengers / whatever. We just wanted to come up with something to talk about.
Yep.
So this was actually your idea, Chad. So talk about your knowledge of the West Coast Avengers to begin with.
Well, I just like the idea because we were going to be on the West Coast, and so it seemed like kind of a fun thing to go over. But the West Coast Avengers are interesting in their own right. It's been a limited success run as a comic book, but the idea was, Tony Stark needed to, help protect the globe, and apparently protect the globe just means one, team on the East Coast and one team on the West Coast.
Yeah, we don't care about Middle America.
And so he founds the West Coast Avengers, and from a comic standpoint, they were supposed to be a little less, a little more irreverent, not quite as straight-laced, all that kind of stuff as the standard Avenger team, and it's had some mixed history. The comic run did really well for a long time and really kind of faded out. So then it got canceled, and in the comics the team gets broken up, all this sort of stuff. It got revived just a few years ago, actually, as Kate Bishop takes over as Hawkeye. Hawkeye's still on the team. He led the original team, and kind of comes back to help revive this one through Kate Bishop. And so I think that's where the MCU has kind of taken a lot of its cues with the Hawkeye show. And moving forward, I really think they're blurring the lines a little bit, which is fine. They've done this a ton of times with another property called the Young Avengers. And we've talked a few times about that in various shows. So
because especially with the series, with Hawkeye, with WandaVision introducing Wanda's kids. Yeah. We've got Stature, who technically was already introduced in the Ant-Man movies, but she's supposed to play a more predominant role in Quantumanium. Yeah, we've got all these younger members. We got Ironheart coming out. Mm-hmm. We've got all these younger members, so it was like, okay, maybe they're headed towards a Young Avengers.
Well, and even, like, if you want to talk Young Avengers, the core group guys, there's several that really make small appearances that you kind of wouldn't know if you weren't a fan of the books. So there's the variant kid Loki in the Loki show, the one that is there because he killed Thor successfully. There's Patriot, which young Noah Wiley,
who appeared in Falcon the Winter Soldier.
Yeah. So there's a lot of little things that have been set up, and obviously Wiccan and Speed from WandaVision are kind of the big ones. So Even there's talk about, good grief, the kid that Tony Stark befriends.
Yeah.
And
then
is
everybody
at the funeral.
Yeah, everybody went, "Who's
Yeah.
this kid at the funeral?" This
And-
teenage 20-year-old, whatever he was.
Yeah, his name's Harley Kenner, and he's Iron Lad.
Yeah.
So, anyways, there's been a lot of setup for the Young Avengers, which, not technically West Coast Avengers, but I think they're going to kind of blur the lines there a little bit. So I just kind of wanted to maybe fan cast like who we thought that team would be made up of, like what are we seeing in the shows that is going to bear fruit, whatever you want to call it, and just give it a shot.
Well, see, and I don't think it's necessarily all going to be young members either.
No.
Because, again, West Coast, well, we've got Shang-Chi, who is on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
That movie takes place on the West Coast. You now have She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, which is taking place on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
The Ant-Man movies, as I mentioned, of course, that would fit in with Stature.
Which Hank Pym and the Wasp were traditionally parts of the West Coast Avengers, so that still fits. And they've basically put Scott in all Hank Pym situations.
Yeah,
so it still works out.
Yeah, except for the hitting of his wife, they don't put him in that situation. So let's kind of break it down. So Hawkeye is typically the leader, or the one that you remember as being the leader.
Right.
Do you think they would do something where Clint Barton is the leader, but maybe he's not so much of an active member?
I think that's where they're going to move more towards the New Avengers in that particular thing, because he's clearly like mentoring Kate Bishop. Now, is kind of his thing. But I will say the interesting part to that was at the end of that series, they heavily insinuate that his wife is Mockingbird, which is one of the other the core members of the West Coast Avengers. So that was also kind of a fun nod there. And normal in the books, her name is Bobby Morse, but that's fine. You can have Laura Barton as Mockingbird.
Well, you could end up finding out her maiden name was Morse, and then maybe
or that's her real name altogether. That Laura Barton is her witness protection name.
Yeah. Or her maiden name is Laura Roberta Morse.
Yeah.
And so
that'd be pretty funny.
That was when she was Bobby Morse. So yeah, I think that's definitely you have a younger, maybe less experienced group, and so you have one of the original Avengers, Hawkeye, Clint Barton Hawkeye, be the Obi-Wan of their group. Just training them, but they're the ones that go out on the mission. So and that just expands on the Hawkeye show and what it was. I really thought Yelena would have been one, but they've got her now being a Thunderbolt.
Yeah, and in the same vein, U.S. Agent is an OG West Coast Avenger from time to time. So I thought he was a natural fit, but same thing. He's going to be a Thunderbolt instead. Which I'm all for, don't get me wrong.
Yeah. So then let's see. The one I have the hardest time with is, does She-Hulk become a West Coast Avenger?
Well, one of the things about the West Coast Avengers, and I would like to see them sort of play with this, is they were way more fluid in their membership. The members kind of came and went.
But that's a lot harder to do with members with like a movie.
Is it though? Like I could see where She-Hulk can easily team up with them for a given situation.
Yeah,
and go on her way. But some of the the other members that I thought would be interesting from the original cast, War Machine kind of came and went. I don't think we'll see him for the same kind of reasons as U.S. Agent and some of the other ones. He's got his own things going on. I mean, he's going to have his own titler movie.
He's got the Armor
or series.
Wars. Yeah, and he's also based off of the trailer released with D23. He's also a big part of Secret Invasion. So it kind of seems like he's got his own thing going.
I doubt we'll see too much of him. But will we see an Iron figure? I don't know.
See, it all depends. So we're supposed to be introduced to Riri Williams in Wakanda Forever.
Mm-hmm.
So are they going to... I don't know. I was kind of hoping that with maybe when she has her own solo thing or whatnot, she would actually end up connecting with MJ and Ned from Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You end up finding out that they end up meeting her at MIT, and you kind of have that connection with the Spider-Man. I thought that would be cool, but that of course would be East Coast, not West Coast. So I don't know about Riri. I really don't see them bringing Iron Lad in, especially with the fact they're bringing in Iron Heart.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's just a little too
but
much.
But we are moving towards Iron Wars. So do they just, I don't know, or do we need enough people on the bench? We're trying to load the team up now.
Now, do you bring Pepper back as rescue? That'd be another thing there.
You were just talking about Spider-Man. Another traditional member of the West Coast Avengers is Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew. Are we going to see more Spider people?
I mean, it's hard to say because of the Sony deal and the fact that they own everything,
Right.
But the fact that you've got Madam Web, for some random reason, a Madam Web movie coming. There's got to be connection.
Sony.
Yeah, there's got to be a connection to other Spider verses, and because why else would you do Madam Web? She's the one that kind of holds everything together. So.
Yep.
That we'll have to wait and see. What do you think about? Because I know that Vision has always been connected with.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this could be a return for the White Vision?
I do. I think that'd be pretty interesting, especially since he separated or is on a different path from Wanda. However you kind of want to word that, and you even have a comic book. Run where that was part of it, where Vision is kind of reset. So you've already got that groundwork even laid down.
Yeah.
So, I mean, which obviously, they don't go exactly by the comics, but I just kind of thought it was an interesting, he's at a reboot point, and that's one of the storylines in the West Coast Avengers. So it would be an easy plug and play, I think.
What I think could also, me being a big DC guy, I'm thinking back to the Young Justice animated series, and how when it was established they had Red Tornado kind of being their bodyguard, their chaperone, if you will.
Yeah.
Wonder if they could do the same thing with Vision, where Vision is the kind of protector of the rest of them.
Well, he's obviously powerful enough, so yeah, I mean, it gives them kind of a bit of a safety net, which would be cool.
What about Shang-Chi? Is this really a team for Shang-Chi?
That one, I don't know. He's one of very few, like we were talking about, West Coast-based movies, and I just...
And he has had brief run with the Avengers.
Yeah.
But I have a hard time seeing him in a team-up, I think is what it comes down to.
Especially, and this is maybe getting too practical, but especially in a team where you've got the Hawkeye role filled, the guy who does not have like cosmic flight powers and stuff. You know what I mean? Like you can only have so many people that are, I don't know, relatively limited. But is he at the end?
I mean, he has the powers of the rings.
Yeah, so I don't know. That one I'm a little more confused on. Like, we just haven't seen him interact with the rest of the MCU at all, really. So until he's in a different series or property, I just think that's going to be kind of a hard one to envision.
Yeah. What about Moon Knight?
I would love to see that one. Moon Knight has like
Even though
really...
they've best him in Europe.
Yeah. He's got such an all over the place relationship with the Avengers in the books, because he's always on his own kind of thing because of Khonshu, which would also work, I think, in the MCU. When Khonshu's missions align with the Avengers, he could use them to his end kind of thing. So I could see Moon Knight being in there, and who doesn't want to see Oscar Isaacs as part of a bigger team? That just makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, the man with the perfect. Doesn't he have a perfect like Disney trifecta? Like he's in
Star Wars,
Marvel, and has he been a Disney character?
I want to say yes, but I don't know.
I can't think of it right now. But I think it would be cool if he's like I'm trying to think of what to compare him to, but like he shows up, like he's not really a member of the team. Like they've asked him, and he can't do it. Whether they go the route of, but of course they've also done the whole. He's the new. I forgot the name. He's the new persona. The more evil persona.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember his name too.
I can't remember his name all of a sudden.
I can't remember.
So they would have to maybe deal with that first before they kind of bring him in.
Or don't let him be a thorn in their side that they don't know about, like a weird, we thought we were getting Moon Knight, but here's somebody who's sabotaging us from within, or I don't know. I think there's some fun stuff you could play with there.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff you could do with Moon Knight when it comes to that.
And that's kind of one thing that we haven't seen in the MCU yet. As I'm saying this, I'm literally like going through the catalog to make sure I'm not about to say something really stupid.
Where someone betrays the team?
Yeah. I mean, you have Hawkeye being controlled by Loki, stuff like that. But there's not, and that's rampant in the books. Like that's, you know what I mean? Like that's a huge comic book thing, and that we really, I don't think have seen that on film yet. And so I would kind of like to see it.
Yeah, I'm sitting here kind of running it through my head. I'm like, have we had
Please
anybody?
Don't say anything really stupid.
Have we had anybody that turned on their team?
I don't think so.
But. So yeah, that could be interesting, and Moon Knight would be a character to do that with, where you also don't lose the likability of the character,
right,
by doing it.
Yeah, for one, because he's an awesome actor and sold that role so stinking well.
Well, I mean, him having DID also gives it
right, but it's
kind of reason.
You never really hate him because Steven is in there, so it makes up for and. It was the same thing with Mark Spector at first. Like, we had to get to know him before you like the Mark Spector character, but Steven gives him some likability. You're sold on Steven, so you're like, I guess I got to take this guy along with it, and it kind of turns to the same thing. But one that I just wanted to mention in passing because I'm very torn on this. So Tigra, we've seen a lady tiger in a movie recently.
Yeah, and I don't want to see it again, to be honest.
But I have a great fan cast on this. I want Jodie Comer to play it.
Okay. I know who you're talking about.
Free Guy in The Last Duel. Yeah. She's so phenomenal, and she has red hair in real life.
Okay.
Like, I just think that'd be a great
casting.
I
mean, I think Marvel could be better successful at creating a CGI-looking...
What? Marvel could do a movie...
Versus whatever... Kristen Wiig turned into in Wonder Woman 84, who you only ever really saw in like dark evening shadow. Never got a good look at her as the cat as it was.
Yeah. And then the original team member that I of course want to talk about is Wonder Man.
Yeah, so I've been sitting here thinking about Wonder Man. So I've made it clear that I want Wonder Man, and I want it to be Nathan Fillion.
Because they already hinted at that,
and there was supposed to be little shots and glimpses of him in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Right.
Like I think there was even supposed to be like a movie trailer that they aired. So yeah, with that being said, what if we start off with Nathan Fillion as Wonder Man, and they end up doing the Vision storyline?
Mm-hmm.
Where in order for you're talking about Vision being reset, in order for White Vision to be, whatever, to be given back a personality,
right?
Or they do he absorbs
the comic book run where
he absorbs Wonder Man's he absorbs Wonder Man.
Yeah. how do they word it in the books? They afterwards they call them brothers.
Yeah.
But it also kind of reciprocates back to Wonder Man. So because you get a weird love triangle because Wonder Man falls in love with Wanda, and so there's tension.
Which I don't
there,
see them doing that. Yeah.
What?
No. I do not see them doing that.
But yeah, no, that's a cool. I hadn't even thought about that one. That's a good point to give. You can map some character back onto Vision.
Yeah, but not even. But have Wonder Man not be a main feature.
But does that kind of degrade what the Vision we knew did when he kind of imparted everything from
when he made him think about a ship?
Yeah. But then he kind of downloads himself into him. A little bit. So.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, because I don't know, because they might. He did download him in there, but there's still just the human aspect. You can't really download a human personality.
Sure.
And there was the whole thing about Vision potentially. He had a soul.
I think it could also be interesting in the sense that it gives it could give Marvel some fun things to play with in the sense of making fun of itself and Hollywood in general, because they are the West Coast Avengers.
Yeah.
And the Wonder Man character is supposed to be like a stuck-up actor.
Yeah. Again, Nathan Fillion. Yeah, it would be great.
It would be really funny.
He can play that so well.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge fan of Nathan Fillion, so this isn't a jab at him at all. So another member of the West Coast Avengers that is on the list is the Human Torch.
So first we have to get a Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah, but the fact that they haven't even announced any of this Young Avenger stuff, but they have announced Fantastic Four. Mm-hmm. Do we see Johnny Storm in the Fantastic Four movie, and then do you think they would separate him from the Fantastic Four so that he could be in this group?
I would like to, because he's really fun interacting with the West Coast Avengers. I think it comes down to how young do you make this Johnny Storm? Yeah. So, are we going to go like comic books where he's like barely out of his teens kind of thing? I think that could be a lot of fun. And I thought, to be fair, I'm going to give a little disclaimer. Most of these young people that I fan casted are from Stranger Things, because that's like the only young actors that I know at this point in my life. But I thought Joe Keery, Steve Harrington, I think that could be a lot of fun.
For him,
he's got
being
kind of
Johnny
the swagger,
and
that. Like he can banter. He just need a different haircut, and I think we could go with him as Human Torch.
I could see that. Let me throw one other out at you that popped into my head. What about Kit Harington being the Black Knight? Does that work for this new group, or do you think he's going to do his own thing with Blade and?
Yeah, I don't know.
And maybe even Werewolf by Night.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. It seems like they're taking him into that a little more mystical portion of it, but he does have, albeit a very thin one, relationship with Moon Knight already. So I mean, you could get the mechanism of why he would come over with him, or something like that. So maybe that works. I want to see Kit Harington and everything. I think he's great, and I want to see them move that character forward. So,
again,
how he would work? I mean,
do they do that, or do they lead towards a Dark Avengers?
Well, they're leading. They've hinted more toward a Dark Avengers, which I'm 100% on board with. But if I don't think they have to be exclusive. You could have one in the. I mean, Dark Avengers is very, very on the young side of putting pieces together. So you can have him kind of get like, teams work, and that sort of thing from a West Coast Avengers standpoint, and that could work, whatever you want to call it, story wise or cinematically. Because you do sometimes need kind of that straight-laced character, which that seems to be. He's a more serious character, especially with how many young people you're dealing with here. Kind Gosh, that about does it for the traditional members. I mean, really, the only other one is Living Lightning, and we haven't seen any hints whatsoever of that character coming into the Marvel world. So that one, I don't see us doing. But so out of the new Avengers, which are the rebooted West Coast Avengers, that one gets really thin. They have not hinted at too many of these. You got basically two. So Kate Bishop, and she's clearly a plug-and-play member. The other one is Miss America, America Chavez.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I totally even forgot about her. I was sitting here going, we could also bring up Miss Marvel, but I wasn't even thinking about America Chavez.
Yes, she is a new Avenger. So, that one 100% works in my mind. She gives a massive amount of power to the team. Yeah. Which has been very underexplored. We just have the snippets of her kind of gaining her confidence and everything in the Doctor Strange movie. So I really want to see more of that character.
Yeah, that's a good one. I really, and I do think they probably will stick with the younger, because we are looking at Miss Marvel, we got America Chavez, we've got Wiccan and Speed, we've got Stature coming. Although Stature, isn't she supposed to be like pushing? She's supposed to be like pushing her 20s, I think. But you got Riri Williams, Ironheart. I really do think they're going to go younger. I'm for the Hawkeye connection,
right?
For Clint to be kind of a mentor to the team. I'm okay with the Vision, but I don't know about Shang-Chi or She-Hulk and Moon Knight. And
I think they'll be come and go characters. They'll kind of pass through their world as whatever you want to call it, flavor of the week mentors sort of thing. Especially if they did it in serial.
Oh, if they do it like
that'd be kind of cool. If
series,
you got like a different, one every week. So the one out of the new Avengers that is the most popular and I think would be the most fun to bring in would also be the hardest would be Gwenpool.
Oh, yeah. I was sitting here actually thinking, do we want to talk about any mutants, any X-Men that could potentially
They're
be
in
a
the
part
MCU
of this?
now, man.
Yeah.
Like it's
yeah, there's a mutation in Miss Marvel's blood.
See, I don't think Miss Marvel will be part of the West Coast Avengers. I think they're clearly putting her in her own movie. They're like, she's getting the Marvels.
Yeah.
So, does she post team up with Miss Marvel or with Captain Marvel in the universe at large? Does she then kind of downgrade to being on the West Coast Avengers team? I say that sarcastically, obviously, but I don't know. I don't know that works. I'm not 100% sold on Miss Marvel becoming one.
I could see that.
But
so you got any? You got. So you've been talking about your fan casting.
Yeah.
So who is your fan casting for any of these characters that could possibly show up?
Oh gosh. So again, I really struggled with a lot of these very, very young characters because I just don't know that many. Like I don't watch a lot of Disney drama shows where you would draw these people from. But Gwenpool, I thought would be really interesting to see Chloe Grace Moretz play.
Okay.
So,
although she's
obviously already has a superhero that she's played. She can clearly hold her own there. And kind of a similar superhero, that might be the only downside is...
Well, she couldn't do all the profanity.
Hit Girl, obviously, but Hit Girl is pretty similar to a Gwenpool. For those of you who don't know, Gwenpool is Gwendolyn Poole. That's her actual name. And she's like a bizarre, cute version of Deadpool. But could be super stinking fun on a team. It's just the mechanism there would be incredibly difficult. Like, how do you bring her into this universe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, yeah. If they figure out how to bring Deadpool in, then it could be just a really meta type thing that they do.
Yeah.
To bring her in. All right, who else you got?
Man, I didn't have a whole lot of other ones. Let's see. Living Lightning, which is the character that I just said we probably won't see. I would like to see Amari Nolasco from Prison Break.
Okay.
He would be phenomenal. Well, he looks just like the dude, anyways. Like,
yeah.
Bald Latin man of good stature. Like, it works. Jessica Drew, Alicia Vikander, Tomb Raider.
Oh, okay.
She's been in a lot of things. Like, she'd be pretty fun. But then once we get to the really young people, I don't have Johnny Watts as Fuse or Kid Omega or any of those, because you need somebody who's 14 years old.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, again, it is Disney, so they got
they've got a stable of those.
Yeah, they've got a bunch on contract.
But
they can find somebody.
Yeah, I don't know. Out of the Young Avengers works because we've clearly already been being brought those guys, and that was a very short comic run. I don't know if you're familiar with that at all, but that was Young Avengers was like back in 2007, something like that. That didn't last 2005, and it's pretty much a kid version of a lot of
the
Avengers
original
already.
Characters. Yeah.
So you have Wiccan, Speed, Billy and Tommy. We've already got them. We've got Patriot. We've got the kid Loki.
We totally forgot. We've got I guess what's her official name? Thunder from Thor: Love and Thunder. We got we got what technically is Gore's daughter,
right?
But she now wields. She wielded Mjolnir, or did she wield Stormbreaker?
That'd be pretty sweet.
Who did she wield at the end?
Mjolnir.
She wielded Mjolnir. So you got her potentially coming in.
That movie's a little problematic. Whatever you want to call it, continuity wise, but I would love to see that.
All right, so we'll wrap this up. I got one more question for us to discuss, and then so let's say this team forms, whatever iteration we get out of it. Who's their villain?
So, I mean, Kang is a big villain for them, so you would have to bring that together
pretty quickly. Yeah, if you're going to do the Kang Dynasty and all to kind of end this multiverse saga that they're starting up.
Kind of the one that I wouldn't mind seeing, and I think you could do safely, is the West Coast Avengers has a really interesting history with Ultron.
Okay.
And I know it's not everybody's favorite villain. I stinking loved James Spader as Ultron, so I have zero problems bringing that back, even though some people don't like it. But they go through this kind of redemption of Ultron that I think could be kind of fun to see on film. We have not seen, or have we? I don't know. I'm again searching through the catalog in my brain all of a sudden, but I don't remember seeing a really redeemed villain.
Yeah.
I guess in Guardians, Yondu sort of kind of,
and then you kind of have it with Wanda and Pietro in Age of Ultron, because they start off as more like henchmen to Ultron,
and even
and
Wanda,
Loki.
Yeah.
Well,
clearly, yeah. Okay, so fair enough. Loki gets redeemed, but it's always fun to explore that. The redemption of a villain, and so through the iterations of Ultron, is there a Ultron unit that survived the Purge? Buried in San Francisco somewhere, and this team has to hunt it out and find it, only to find that it has evolved. And in the books, it's Ultron 12. But, however you want to do it. And
so many different Ultrons.
But who quickly gets killed, by the way.
Yeah.
But, so Ultron would be a really interesting one. If you could throw the team in a good manner, close enough, to get him into the Kang stuff, that would be really cool. The Mandarin is also a West Coast Avengers villain.
Yeah, but I think they've exhausted their use of the Mandarin.
It does get you to bring Shang-Chi in, though.
Yeah, but how? Because if you're...
I don't know. The
again,
organization didn't disappear.
No, but unless you're...
So
you're talking about...
up the title of the Mandarin.
But how do you do that without it just seeming forced? with the fact that they already did what they did with Ben Kingsley, where he had the look of the character in the comic, but he wasn't the Mandarin. And then you had Shang-Chi's father, who kind of says he was the Mandarin.
Right.
So, yeah, how do you do that a third time and it not just seem like you're stretching? Is what I would be worried about.
I mean, I feel like you could, in the sense of you can just use the 10 Rings again. That organization that has always been there. Yeah. Because that's laid so deep into Marvel. It's like Hydra at this point in the MCU. So you could, whoever the next figurehead is of the 10 Rings. And so, you could, Shang-Chi butts up against these guys also tracking down the same criminal organization kind of thing. I don't know, but that's, traditional villain. And one of the other ones is Kraven the Hunter.
I'm just going to go say no to that one because of the direction they're already going.
What?
Yeah, that's a movie that I'm not. I'm more interested at seeing how bad it is than I am actually interested in seeing the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with my Ultron answer. I would not mind that character coming back, even though I'm sure a ton of people would be upset. But
okay, I
don't know.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. It's fun. It's exciting. Chad and I in the same room, and we could probably have done a lot of stuff, but we had to hone in. Let's talk about this one thing. Because like you said, D23 just happened, so we had a lot we could have talked about. We could have just talked, as we always can, but the fact that we're in a room makes it worse.
Well, and now you've been to Seattle, you have a West Coast vibe. Probably, yeah, I'm sure it changed everything.
Oh yeah, yeah, because walking around Seattle did not feel like just walking around anywhere in Georgia. But no, it's a lovely place. I have nothing against Seattle. I've enjoyed my time here. But we'll go
something against the Mariners, but
yes. But we'll go ahead and wrap things up. And so, thanks to everybody for listening. Rate and review the show. Get us out there. Again, rating and reviewing pops that show up when people are doing searches, pushes it up on the algorithm. So get out there and do that. Support our other shows. But I'll go ahead and wrap things up today. Thanks, Chad. And thank you, everybody, for listening. For Moving Panels, I'm Laramy Wells. And I'll see you on the other side of the page.
Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and listen to an 80s Flick Flashback podcast once in a while, you could miss it. Do you love movies of a certain age? Do you miss the days of VHS tapes, VCRs, and the video rental stores? Does the thought of another 80s movie being remade seem inconceivable? My name is Tim Williams. I'm the creator and host of the 80s Flick Flashback podcast. On each episode, I'm joined by guest co-hosts to discuss one of the many movies released in the 1980s. We share our first-time watch memories, our favorite scenes, and even learn some behind-the-scenes stories about the cast and crew along the way. New episodes are released every other Friday on your favorite podcasting platform. So make like a tree, get out of here, and go listen to an excellent episode of the 80s Flick Flashback podcast. The ad is over. Go home. Go.